Hello guys, this is part 4 of the Heaven Visions, and this time I will share with you just some personal things that the Lord has shown me, the places that belong to me. But the reason I want to share with you is because each of us has things like this that are for us, that awaits us, for all the people that are in Christ, for all the people. We each have things that He's prepared in heaven for us. And so I wanted to tell you about mine because I think it will help you understand His nature more and what He wants for us, and how much He loves us, and specifically loves to bring us joy and give us the things that that are our favorite things and that are special to us. And because He just wants to, and He loves us so much, and this is one of the things that we can hope for and know that it's coming. And it's okay that if we don't have these things on earth, it's actually better if we don't have the things that we truly desire on earth, and He will be so pleased to give us those things in heaven, and it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be so incredible and joyful, and you know, even though we may not seek these things, we just desire Him. We just want to be with Him. Like, that's all I want. I'm not asking for things in heaven. Like, I just want to follow Jesus around and just be there and be with Him. But it's like, this is like the, as they say, icing on the cake. This is the extra stuff that He just wants to do because He wants to. This vision started. He said, come, took my hand, and then said, I will show you the place of your abode. And then took me to a creek. So I'll explain some of these things in a minute, why these are special to me. But He took me to this place that had a creek with like grassy bank on either side, mossy, grassy bank on either side, and it had a little bridge that went across the creek. So I walked across the bridge, and then He showed me these big swooping bridges that overlapped each other, unlike anything I've ever seen on earth. But it was like white. They were like white, looked like kind of like ivory, I guess. And these bridges were just beautiful, swooping, and they had stairs that went up them, and they had a bunch of layers to them, and it went over, like crisscrossed around like that. And in the bottom part, I walked through, and in the bottom part was a garden with a fountain in the middle, and then it had almost like pie cut shapes around that, and each section was a different flower that was growing there, a different type of flower, and each one of these were my favorite types of flowers. So it was like daisies and lavender, and I try to remember some of the other ones, all my favorite flowers, basically all the things that make my heart happy. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. And He said, you know what else? And then He showed me right next to this place looked like an endless field of soil, of really, really rich soil. And then He waved His hand, and this I've seen a lot. He just waves His hand and things appear. It never gets old. And all these rows and rows and rows of what looked like dresser drawer kind of shelves, not shelves, drawers. Endless long wooden drawers, and each one of these little drawers had seeds in them, every kind of seed you can imagine. And so this is something that's very special to me, because always throughout my whole life I've loved really rich soil. and that's one thing I've said, man, if I could have one thing in heaven, it would be really, really rich, fertile soil where I can just put any seed in there and it will grow really well. And that would just fill my heart. It just makes me so happy. And so it was all the seeds you could ever imagine, and I could grow anything I wanted to in this place. And that was like the gift that He showed me. Oh, another thing about when I was walking through the flowers, the flowers in heaven, each creature in flowers and all the living things in heaven are absolutely adorable. It's hard to put into words, but they're so cute, and they fill your heart with so much joy. So when I looked at one of the flowers, I can't remember what type of flower it is. I'll have to think about it. Maybe an iris, but it sighed. It sounds so silly and childlike, but it just went, and then a a drop of dew fell on it and it shook itself, and like it didn't want to get wet. It was like shook itself, and it was just, oh my gosh, it was just the cutest little thing. And I was just like, oh, that flower is so precious. So I think the flowers in heaven have personality. I think they can speak or sing, but what I've specifically been shown is that the dew falling on it shook itself off, and it just had this little this sigh. So that was that one place that he called that the place of your abode. A place I'd seen even before that in another vision. He just had come and took me down this like rocky type path with herbs, lots of herbs growing on either side of it. And again, this is something that's really specific to me. I've always loved herbs and making things out of herbs, and that just makes me really happy. and a creek running beside it. I also really love creeks, and my parents had a creek growing up that I played in a lot, and I also have one now at the property that me and my husband have. So it's just something personal to me that I've always loved, a little creek. And so there's a creek running beside this path which has herbs growing on either side, and it reminded me of like a Thomas Kincaid painting. And this is another thing that's very special to me. I've always loved Thomas Kincaid paintings, and I always felt like, oh, that's like heaven. I wish I could just climb into that painting and just be there. So it was like that. It was this beautiful little cottage, and very like old-fashioned type cottage, but it looked like, as far as like pristine, brand new, beautiful, but it was that really old style cottage. And it's just perfect, just gorgeous, and it's exactly like what my heart would want, because the Lord knows that I don't really desire a giant mansion or anything like that. I wanted a cute little cottage. Like that would make me so happy, with like a fireplace and things like that, and to be able to make different herb mixtures. Yeah, so that's what he showed me. He said, what else? What do you want? And it was just like he just wanted me to say whatever would make me happy, whatever came to my mind. And I was like, what about birch trees? And so he waved his hand and some birch trees appeared. And it just, again, shows how much he truly is like a parent that wants to make their child happy and wants to give us everything, but also wants what's good for us. And so, let's see. Oh, okay, so the next story I wanted to share is, it is about a mansion that, so this one was a dream, which is a pretty recent dream, where I was in this giant mansion, beautiful, golden. It looked like extremely expensive, very, very large, had many, many, many rooms, but it was empty except for some like garbage and like kind of junk that had been left. It's almost like somebody moved out and just left some junk on the floor. And I was there with two friends of mine, and we were cleaning this house. And what did I say? Oh, I said, on Earth, I was like, this is so funny, because on Earth I hated cleaning, but here I love it. And I knew I was in heaven, and I knew that that cleaning there was absolute joy. And we were hanging out together. Like this was not a burden. This was not something I disliked. Like here, I don't like cleaning. I don't like doing that. That's just a chore that I have to do. But I was like so surprised that I loved it in heaven. And then, so I'll explain it a bit why I think we were cleaning up this place. But I knew it belonged to me personally, and that I was to clean it up and make it my own. And then these three women came in, and in heaven, another thing is when you look at people, you know things about them that you wouldn't know here on Earth. So these three women came in, and I knew, upon seeing them, I knew that all three of them had been extremely ultra wealthy pastors' wives. And the one in the middle especially was the wealthiest, had been on Earth, had been the wealthiest one of all. And I also knew when I looked at them that none of them had ever done anything for anyone else in their whole entire lives, not once. They had only lived purely selfish lives, but they were believers. So they were there, they were in heaven, but they had nothing in heaven, because they had never done anything for anyone. So they came in, hold on a second. So these women came in, and I looked at them and I knew that the middle lady was someone who, this house was originally supposed to be hers, but she forfeited that because she had never done anything for the Lord, never done anything for anybody, only had lived purely selfishly. And so she had, because of that, she had given up her heaven mansion. And so somehow it had come to me. And so she looked at it, and I knew that when she saw it, she was jealous. She wanted it, and it made her feel bad that I was the one that had it. And I kind of felt bad too, and I was just like, I'm sorry. I was like, you thought this was going to be yours. I was like, well, if you want, I'll let you stay here. And she just kind of looked like really snooty, like, no, she wasn't not going to stay there if it didn't belong to her. And I was like, well, you know, maybe if you ask Jesus, he will build you a little small place. And I was just like trying my best to comfort her, but yet I knew that like there really wasn't anything I could do. And even there, and even in heaven, she still kind of carried this pride of, she thought she was owed something, but she had never really done anything for the Lord. So yeah, that, I think it shows some biblical principles of how it works. And you know, our works don't get us to heaven, but the things that we do for the Lord and for his kingdom, they build heavenly treasure. And so that's in the Bible. That's a very real thing, that some people sadly won't have any heaven treasure because they chose to live complete selfish lives. So I think it inspires us to want to do more for others, and not necessarily for what we can gain, but simply because it's important and it builds God's kingdom. But yeah, it is an extra reward. It is a joy, you know, to have those things, because Jesus said, you know, store up treasures in heaven that will never rust, or will never get stolen, or never degrade, you know, things like that. So I think he wants us to work for those things and to care about eternal things, and to serve others, and to not live selfish lives, but to give. And so he wants to inspire us to live like he wants us to live, and have that motivation, right? So yeah, I just want to share that, and that was part 4.